They can't keep going. Blind video reaction. Let's do this.
Oh, let's watch this. Damn, I wanted to watch this with you. This is actually so relevant. Let's watch this. Talking about Russia. Russia. The phony Russia hoax.
Despite more than 3 years of war, huge military expenses and waves of sanctions, Russia's economy appears to be thriving.
Хотите батоны, а хотите дроны.
But as President Trump threatened,
what in the marketing did they do there? How dare you? Oh my fucking god. Хлеб и дроны. Jesus freaking Christ. Okay, like we all know you can always, you know, like present something with imagery as like Niccolo Machiavelli type shit. So like you can like always go ahead and paint a picture that way. It's like propaganda. This is like how propaganda works at this point.
Russia's harsh economic sanctions.
We just don't see any progress being made.
And cracks begin to show how long can it last.
War has been a huge stimulus for the Russian economy, but they can't continue doing this forever. The reality.
Well, like the thing about sanctions. Like what do they expect? Like not every country will participate within the sanctions. Like the monetary incentive on like dodging that are wild and vast. They can actually go ahead and do a fully integrated chain via buyouts, like of companies. They like I give like an abstract example. Like they can literally like go to India, buy a logistics company. So they own the assets, and the assets are like then like stored within India. And they can then just simply go ahead and like process everything. And people can be bought with money. That's like a major exploit being present. And then they wonder like, oh no, like the sanctions are not doing like what it looks like more. It looks kind of like a symbolic effect taking place when sanctions are then like imposed.
Is a recently uploaded video, but it feels incredibly dated. This is the conversation from like 3-4 months ago. Honestly, earlier. Like when I talked about this on stream.
Kaylee, thank you so much. Kaylee with the 5,000. Kaylee. Oh, Kaylee. Thank you so much, sweetheart. Kaylee. 5,000. Jesus. This is the new record again. Can't even like breaking record after record. All you bitch for now. I appreciate it, Katie. It's the birthday month, yes. October birthday month of Noozed, yes. Thank you so much.
Reading it from other papers. Wall Street Journal's behind.
They're likely to run out of money.
Since launching its full-scale invasion of Ukraine, Moscow has ramped up its military.
Like in my personal humble opinion, hearing the word full-scale invasion would mean mobilization of the entire population from Russia and then launching a full-scale invasion into a country. Words are mad, man. Words are mad. Plus flu is the bubonic plague. WW3.
Spending.
If we go back to 2022, Russian defense spending was about $50 billion a year. They are now spending close to $150 billion a year on their military.
That's not even a magnificent increase in terms of spending. And like if we are like by now like able to believe the news where they are printing and like saying that Russia by now has a war economy, this shit is looking fucking scary. Which is yet again like in terms like when you have a war, the first thing you do, end it, metaphorically speaking, yesterday. That their whole ass economy is now like functioning in wartime. That's not that much of an increase, bruh. Shit's fucking wild. 150 quadrillions, quintillions, 9 Oh!
As the war continues, President Trump has vowed to turn up the economic pressure on Moscow, threatening tariffs and secondary sanctions if a ceasefire isn't reached.
Russia could be so rich right now. Instead, they spend all their money on war. They spend everything on war and killing people, and it doesn't make sense.
But Russia has
Tell
shown
him,
it
Trump.
can adapt to economic pressure.
I think that war in general doesn't make any sense. Like, Loki, like in terms of like conflict, like as an analogy, abstract example, two people fighting over gold, like they would be way more efficient helping one another rather than killing one another. Two people dig faster for gold than like just one. This goes as well for machinery, bruh. Jesus. Word is the war is the freedom. Oh.
Since launching its full-scale invasion of Ukraine, it has become the most sanctioned major economy on the planet.
We had statements from Western leaders like turning the ruble to rubble. This was intended to bring the Russian economy to a complete halt. It was meant to make the continuation of the war.
I just want to say, maybe they're going to say this, but I just want to say, sanctions on materials, raw materials, oil, gas, all that stuff doesn't really fucking work. People buy every fucking barrel that comes out of the ground. You just sell it to someone else. Like, someone will buy it. Someone always buys it. I want to show you a recent example that I think is very relevant. This is more about tariffs, but it's the same idea, bro. It's like, this is our trade deficit.
Привет. Like, yeah, like as I said as well, like, it looks like some symbolic. It is just a symbolic gesture. Like, Jesus fucking Christ.
With China. I'm trying to find it. Okay, I don't have it, but I have the counterbalance. Anyway, what I'm saying is the amount of goods that China is shipping us has decreased dramatically ever since the tariffs. Our trade balance is way closer because we're not buying as much stuff from China. So you might think, wow, that's huge progress. But it turns out as that's happening, the exact same amount that's lost from the China thing has spontaneously appeared in Mexico and Vietnam. The trade deficit that we narrowed the gap with China has expanded with Mexico and Vietnam. And it's because all the goods just go to one of these two places and then go to America. It's
This is like curb your sanctions, bro.
this crazy coincidence. We haven't changed it. We've just shifted it around. And that's the same thing with these so-called sanctions on Russian oil. Like, the oil is too big of a global commodity. You can't keep it down. So anyway, the reason Russia's economy is hurting more than usual lately is probably because oil prices.
Not Mexico, man. That's what they did, RGDP. That's what they did with their sanctions, bro.
Have been down much less than the sanctions biting.
Despite this, in 2020,
How about diplomacy? How about some diplomacy, bro? Jesus.
Russia's economy outpaced the growth of most advanced nations, including the US.
There was a deep economic contraction in 2022. It was 2% of GDP. And by the way, that's
How should we economically hurt Russia then? The honest answer, if you wanted to economically hurt Russia, is to do whatever it takes to get the oil price down. And Biden sort of did this, by the way, to his credit. He released the United States Strategic Petroleum Reserve to keep oil prices low until oil prices were actually low. You can actually do that. That actually is effective. But drill.
Meanwhile, Europe is like increasing the living fuck out of oil prices, bro. Like, oh.
Baby drill is correct, but more than just in America, what you really need is like to get all producers turning it on. Like, you need to parlay with OPEC to reduce production cuts and flood the market. All that stuff combined would can deeply hurt Iran and Russia if that was your goal. Sanctioning doesn't really work.
But what's interesting is that they bounce back very, very quickly.
Analysts say Russia was able to avoid the impact of current sanctions by reorienting its economy.
The EU was lost as an export market almost entirely. The two big export markets for Russia are China and India. Effectively, they have reorientated towards the export of fuels.
So it further increases the strengthening in the bond of BRICS. Curb your sanctions.
To China and India, because that
You could think that they're trying to like now basically like cluster them in order to build two super fields, so that you have like in the end like the east and the west like separated by a line, which like trades over like a, in quotes, like invisible border. This could like somewhat, like, if you like go ultra tinfoil hat, you know, like conspiracy type shit, like in that direction, could explain this play taking place here, because it will like bring them more together.
Reorientation was possible. That's one of the reasons the sanctions haven't really bit in as much as we might expect.
In addition, Moscow turned its economic focus on supplying its war effort in Ukraine, with even the most unlikely companies focusing on war. Russian state TV broadcast a segment about a bread factory that swapped dough for drones.
Они еще пахнут свежим хлебом.
But I also want to say, like, even the European sanctions, like, Europe stopped selling certain cars.
I think it's like wild that they actually went ahead of like industrial engineers and basically restructured companies which produce bread to produce drone. I assume like by hand assembly, because it makes because it makes like sense, like on the manufacturing belt. No, those like wild stuff. Like to get it to they have like industrial engineers going into those factories and planning an assembly line for drones, which like shows you like how economically powerful war is in the first place. Like yet again, like as mentioned before, I think like when a war is present, it is at most advisable to go ahead and end it, metaphorically speaking, yesterday. Like, don't fuel the fire in that sense.
To Russia, jewelry to Russia, high-end things, luxury items to Russia, okay? As part of the sanctions. But the problem is, surprisingly, overnight, Kazakhstan started buying a ton of Mercedes. You know? Like, they bought it and then it just travels across the border. Like, the market for the thing is still there.
They're spending a tremendous amount of money on armaments. So the expansion of the military-industrial complex, that's hoovered up labour. So we've seen unemployment in Russia actually fall to a 30-year low.
Russia has largely been able to sustain these high levels of spending thanks to its oil and gas sector, which makes up around 20% of Russia's GDP.
Which yet again, like, it could low-key even, like, if you go tinfoil hat, show you that people who propagate for war, like measures that actually keep the war going, are fueling the economy of Russia. Which like shows you in a way like the hypocrisy taking place. Like this was like one of the things I was like in German parliament we have a party is like called the Green Party. And like in our constitution it's written that human dignity is invaluable. Those hypocrites are sitting in parliament and crying out for guns to be sent to Ukraine in order to kill people. Disgusting. It is absolutely retarded behavior. But besides the very fact that war itself is a zero-sum game. So you can literally deduct that like war supporting efforts, like where it's about killing people, like sending guns, sending ammunition and whatnot, those things, those very things, help the Russian economy. When you look at what is being proposed here in this video. Absolutely wild.
But analysts warn this can't last forever.
By rights, Russia should have a budget surplus at the moment. That surplus should be going into their national wealth fund. What we've seen is that they're spending far more than they're bringing in. And the way that...
I feel like I covered this a month ago. Like every stat in this entire thing. I'm not tooting my own horn. I read it somewhere else, but like I covered everything. This exact thing. Like, every line that he's saying, I feel like I already said, including the one about their national wealth fund, including the fact they're out of gold in their central bank and out of their. I straight up think
they are
I've heard this already.
Is by running down their remaining reserves. So at the present burn rate, we see them running out at about 2030.
With President Trump threatening to come down hard on Russia, concerns are growing that this could have far-reaching consequences.
There's been a suggestion of 100% secondary tariffs. So those who buy from Russia, say buy Russian oil, would be hit with tariffs entering the US market. China and
Well, like again, like from my humble business perspective, like I'm by far no learned politician or anything, so I could be majorly wrong in that regard. So you could simply send Russian agents into India, buy up a company there, and just simply secondarily, like store liquidity within India, and then you can also go ahead, especially with crypto, like Bitcoin stuff, like then transfer the money into Russia. You can circumvent that shit. You just simply decentralized. You simply decentralize your reserves into foreign nations. Of course, like cost them money, like cost them like foreign tax measures and whatnot, though it's possible. On a surplus, by the way.
India are the main buyers of Russian oil. They collectively account for almost half of Russian exports. Let's imagine if they were to stop buying Russian oil completely. That would be catastrophic for the Russian economy. Russia looks to oil and gas receipts for anything from a third to half of its annual budget. More broadly, this would
You type in, like, as you type roulette, like with help.
create a tremendous oil shock in the world. So the price of oil would rocket. It could be recession.
Yeah, but the second the price of oil rockets, all of a sudden, surprise, surprise, the Russian oil is relabeled as some other Kazakhstani oil or something. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's all so foolish, dude. It all doesn't work. You just have to make what they're selling cheaper. You flood the market with it. You don't try to restrict it.
Trump's threats also come as crack.
Exactly, like, which shows you the dominance of a cooperative behavior. Like, if all nations would like cry out for those, like, in quotes, like simplistic-minded sanctions and just simply build efforts in order to increase the surplus of oil within the market on a global scale, this would be way more effective as what they do now. And now, like, then you gotta share and whatnot. And then it starts to look like, oh, like maybe it's not a Pagani car, maybe it's not a Bugatti, like in that sense, like there are like many players, not all, Jesus fucking Christ, not all, man. Though, like in times of war, it's very advisable to dominate with cooperation, diplomacy. Don't cry out for guns, like send people to talk to one another, which like shows you yet again like how important freedom of speech is in the first place. Now do you see all the commands? Like just the symbol you did now with help, like the help command, like exclamation point help, and then you see all the commands.
In Russia's economy are beginning to show.
Now, inflation has been high, but wage inflation has been even higher. So, if anything, the standard of living of Russians has improved.
You go to war
the
more
problem,
often.
of course, is that this is not sustainable. That's
Like the symbolic effect on the Russian population, like especially for simple-minded individuals, like not to dunk down on them. Like some people are just simple-minded. That is catastrophic. Catastrophic.
eventually Russia is going to hit the fiscal buffers.
Despite the economic risks, experts believe Russian President Vladimir Putin remains committed to his goal of seizing as much of Ukraine as possible, and that Russia will try to sustain its military economy for years to come as it eyes conflicts beyond Ukraine.
If you look at Russian defence expenditure, 2025 is likely to be a peak, but that's on the basis that at some point there will be a ceasefire. At that point, we'd expect defence spending to moderate. But we don't see spending going back to the 2022 or 2021 level.
Which is why, like, again, like as like was there proposed, like, they seem to have a war economy by now. That is a major issue taking place. It could be by design in order to provoke, in order to then like cause war. Though it's wild. You have some friends from Ukraine, yeah, like My mom is Russian and my father is Ukraine. Right? The amount of bonds, like people don't have like a direct idea how painful this war is for both nations. War is ugly, man. Just look at some war footage. I had like comrades who were like in Kosovo. They cut off people's heads and sew them into stomachs and hang the bodies like up on buildings. And like war is not nice. There's no heroism in war, nothing. Like, it's just as ugly, man. It's just fucking ugly.
It's going to stay elevated. Russia would say that it still faces threats. It would argue that NATO is a threat, so they need to be prepared. I think they do understand that at some
Watch out for
point
me,
this
Putin.
war will
Watch
have
the
to
f out.
turn in. But of course, politically,
The real threat is the streamers, okay? Because we have the real fucking power to take down fucking Putin's Russia. One-man army, baby. This video is Big Nothing Burger. I actually do agree with you. I think that video was news that was 3 months out of date, delivered with stock footage. I actually was not impressed with that video, straight up. I legitimately feel like the person who worked on that read the same articles I read 3 months ago. And then wrote that script. That was actually slop.
Goddamn. Was a very good video. Link in the description. Wall Street Journal. Yeah. It's good stuff. Like I'll link it. It's news. It's like public source material in a sense. So I'll link the video in the description below, so that you guys can go there. Leave a like, follow, and subscribe. Subscribe. YouTube, you guys are amazing. I love y'all. As usual, peace.